order of operations. So right here, order of operations. This is something that we learned in elementary school. Order of operations, and then it has parentheses. I'm going to tell you, we're going to remember what order of operations are. Order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or PEMDAS. Except we're adding a little arrow over the M and D. Because what that tells me is you could, instead of saying, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, you might say, please excuse dear mine. You could divide before you multiply. Because they're opposites, right? They're inverses of each other. So they can be flip-flopped in their order. And addition and subtraction could be flip-flopped in order. If subtraction comes first and then something's being added, you're going to subtract before you add. Because addition and subtraction are inverses, they can be done out of order.
That would really throw the phrase off, though.
Right? So we don't say, please excuse dear my Sally Aunt. Right? We stick with, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or PEMDAS. We just have to remember that multiplication and division can be flip-flopped, and addition and subtraction can be flip-flopped. It says, order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, says you should always do what first? Parentheses. Parentheses is a hard word to spell. P-A-R-E-N-T-H-E-S-I-S.
I can't just write my own name without writing it backwards or something. I spelled it P-A-R-E.
Parentheses. It's a hard word to spell. But here's my question. Now that we're, listen please, now that we're into algebra, that means we're going to have variables in our problems, correct? And variables are unknown. I don't know what they are. And then Paxton, pay attention. So it says right here, but what if you can't? What if you can't do your parentheses first? And here's an example of what that would look like. What if my problem...
Do you write that down?
You write that down. What if my problem, my parentheses, I can't do because I don't know what my parentheses are. I don't know how to do this first. Order of operations tells me I should do 2x plus 3 first because it's inside parentheses. Do you agree?
Yes.
But I don't know what 2x plus 3 would be because they're not like terms. They cannot go together. This has an x with it, and this is just a regular number. So I can't do my parentheses first. So when I can't do my parentheses first, we need to get rid of the parentheses. We need to get rid of them, and we get rid of them by the distributive property. The first thing we do for the distributive property is we circle, this is to help organize our brain, circle the number outside the parentheses. Circle the number outside the parentheses. I'm going to spell parentheses again if you need it. Are you ready? P-A-R-E-N-T-H-E-S-I-S. Parentheses. There is not a spelling test over that word. Bless you.
What?
I didn't do nothing.
You're fine.
You sneezed.
Circle the number outside the parentheses. Then we're going to draw arrows to every number inside. This step, when we draw these arrows to everything inside, this step makes sure that we don't forget something. Because it's really easy for us to start doing math, and all of a sudden we start feeling super confident and we start to go a little bit too fast, and we make a silly mistake. So this arrow slows us down just a little bit. Now, last step. We're going to multiply the outside number. And we're in step 3. Multiply the outside number to every number inside. Multiply the outside number to every number inside. Okay, here are my 3 steps. We're going to do a problem, and then we're going to fill in as we go. We're going to fill in the remembers, because these are helpful hints. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So let's do practice problem number 1. Bless you. Practice problem number 1. Step number 1 says circle the number on the outside of the parentheses. In practice problem number 1, what number is outside the parentheses?
4.
So circle the 4. Step number 2, draw an arrow to every number inside. So it's going to go to the X and to the 3. Now we're going to stop right here. And I'm going to remind you, we're going to fill in our first remember. You need to remember the plus or minus sign belongs to the number behind it. You cannot leave that plus or that minus sign dangling off by itself. It goes with it. Just like when we did combining like terms, that plus or that minus sign goes with it. All right, so now we're going to multiply. It says draw arrows to every number inside. Now we're going to multiply the number outside to every number inside. So here we go. I'm going to rewrite it. This step is going to go in our notes, but you could potentially skip it if you know the steps. So that looks like 4 times x. Do you agree? Is that my first step? 4 times x. And my second step is 4 times positive 3. So I just could write 3. Do you agree with that? I'm going to multiply. Now I get it. This part, in theory, we can skip writing the problem and just write the answer. But these are our notes, so we're going to write all of the work. What is 4 times x?
4x.
4x. What is 4 times 3? 12. But you guys, this looks funny, doesn't it?
You need the plus sign in there.
Because is this a positive 12?
Yes.
Since it's a positive 12, I'm going to put a plus sign. And there's my answer.
Dude, that's so cool.
So this is another reminder. You might need to add in a plus sign. You might need to do that. You might have to add it in because it might not show up unless you put it in there. You might need to add in a plus sign. You might need to add in a plus sign.
God dang it, I wrote add backwards.
You're okay.
Da. It just D-D. Da.
The last reminder we're going to give ourselves is the variables do not change. If your variable is x, it's coming along for the ride. Right? Numbers get multiplied together. Numbers get multiplied together. The variable is just there. It's not going to change yet. Someday it will. But right now, it's just going to stay the same. All right, let's do another practice problem. Are you ready? All right, 3 steps. Circle, arrows, multiply. Who can tell me what in this problem am I going to circle? The 8. Good. And I'm now going to draw arrows. Where do I draw arrows to, Melissa? Where?
Is it 3x?
8 goes to the 3x, perfect. And then I have another arrow, right? And what's it going to go to? I'll tell you a trick. It's not 2. It's -2. Good. Because the plus or minus sign belongs to the number behind it, correct? Okay, so we're going to write out the steps. It's okay, you won't die. This first arrow means 8 times 3x. Do you agree with that first arrow? 8 times 3x. The second arrow means 8 times -2. We could do this part in our brain. I get that, but these are our notes, right? When we get confused, we go to our notes and we want as much information as possible. And then it says down here, the variables do not change. So ladies and gentlemen, 8 times 3x. We're just going to do 8 times 3. Don't put variables in your calculator. What is 8 times 3?
24.
And then I just put an x on the end. 8 times 3x is 24x. Then I'm going to do 8 times -2. What's 8 times -2? How do I write that? Like this, -16, correct? But when I read it, I don't say -16. When I read it, it says 24x minus 16. All right, you try the next one. See if you can do it. Circle, arrows, multiply. Circle, arrows, multiply. I'm going to put it down. You check to see if you need a little helper. I've got my circles written down. If you need a little helper.
So what she's saying is you could just write -3 times
Then I'm going to multiply.
So you're right. -3 times -2. You just do 6. Well, what's a negative times -2?
I'm going to draw my circles. I did my arrows.
That's a positive. So change that to
My arrows tell me what I'm multiplying. So my multiplication,
so
-3 times 4y gives me -12y. And -3 times -2 gives me 6. Is this my answer? What do I need? Y plus sign? Because it's +6. So I have to, you might need to add in a plus sign. Okay, try the next one. Can you circle, draw your arrows, multiply, circle, draw your arrows,
We'll do this one. Circle,
multiply.
naturally arrow, that's good. Now, you can write down.
I'm going through.
Write down -4.
I've got my arrows drawn if you need help looking at circles or arrows. The arrows tell you what to multiply. -4 times -5x. -4 times -3y. What's -4 times -5x?
20x.
Positive, right?
Yeah.
Positive 20x. Do I need to put a plus sign? No, because it's my first number, right? -4 times -3y is
-12. No, plus 12. Yeah.
positive 12y, and since it was positive, I put a plus. This coming back from the depths of your brain,
Yeah.
from hiding in those deep dark corners.
Wait, so if it's negative, you put a negative sign?
You put a minus sign.
The next one, it's
Mhm.
a variable.
Oh, right.
Okay, so here's a good question. Next one.
Oh, it's just 8.
I'm going to multiply the 8 and the y. And then I have -x. When I have lonely variables, what can I put with them?
A 1.
A 1. Sometimes that makes my life easier. So instead of saying y times 8, could I say 1y times 8? Sure. And instead of saying y times -x, what could I say?
Y times 1x.
1y times what?
1x.
No, what's with it? -1x. Good. That one's hard. Lonely variables are hard ones. What's 1 times 8?
8. 8y.
8y. Because the variable just comes along for the ride. It's just tagging along. What's 1 times -1?
-1.
-1. And then I have a y and an x. And they just get added on to the end, except I'm not going to write yx. Guess how I'm going to write it?
xy.
I'm going to put xy.
When your mom takes away your Xbox and you start crying.
All right, last one. See if you can do it.
I can do it.
See if you can do it without me. Can you get an answer for the last one? Circle. Draw your arrows. Multiply. Here we go. Circle. Arrows. Multiply. Circle, arrows, multiply. Look up here for your answer. Make sure your example matches mine.
I did it. I'm a dad. Do we have a lot of homework?
So much. I put a number with my lonely variable.
Negative
50 and -5x, but I read it as -5x, correct? All right, glue this on page number 9.